Hello, my name's Adil Al-Baik. I'm a software engineer at R3. So I'm just going to show you what we're doing today with telemetry for the 4.10 release. Just give you some idea of the work we're doing. Just firstly, so it's just going to be a demo. I just want to describe the environment. So basically, so this is going to demonstrate Corda with integrated with c4telemetry, which is like a upcoming standard and implementation for telemetry. So what I've got running here in this window is, so this is from the c4telemetry project. So this is a collector which collects spans from processes. A span is basically an operation. You can think of it as, so for example, you would start a span and end a span, and then that span information will get sent to the collector. In a telemetry environment, you can have multiple collectors, and then the collectors will then send their data back to the back end. So I'm using a Jaeger backend with database. So this is all from the c4telemetry project. The sample I'm going to use for demonstration is the Bank of Corda sample. So that's so it's in the Corda repo in the samples directory. So basically, it just mimics a bank with flows where you can issue cash and you can do a payment. So first thing I just want to show is just a command line that I'm using here. So basically to integrate with c4telemetry, there's a couple of ways of doing it, but the way we're using is to use the c4telemetry Java agent. So here's the command line where I'm just adding in the c4telemetry Java agent. So that basically integrates with Corda and then receives the spans that generate in Corda. And here is the service name, Bank of Corda. So I'm just going to start the process. So here we have the Bank of Corda, we have Big Corporation, and we have the notary. So basically, the operation I'm going to issue is a cash issue and payment flow. So cash will be issued to Bank of Corda, and then there'll be a payment flow that gets sent to Big Corporation. So to show some telemetry, I need to issue a flow. So I'll just copy one I did previously. So okay, so that's issued the flow. So we can now, if we go to the Jaeger front end, so basically this is the Jaeger GUI. So I'm saying, give me the spans for the Bank of Corda service, and I've tagged it with I want the root flow. So what you get here is the spans. So this is the one I've just done now. So basically, so this is showing now. So a span represents a flow, and within flows you can have subflows. So for example, the root flow is the cash issue and payment flow. So that's made up of the cash issue flow and the payment flow. So if we look at, say, the root flow, so it gives you I've added in some like information like the flow ID, the thread name, creation time, there's a class name. So yeah, so I'll explain what started events are in a minute, but here we go, have the normal child spans. So underneath that, you can see that we've got a cash issue flow and a cash payment flow. So yeah, so this is basically showing all the spans on the cash issue flow. So you see, like, there's notarized, and so we've got the finality flow. So it's doing a notarize and record, and then record transactions. Yeah, the other thing is when you use the OpenTelemetry Java agent, it actually enables like hibernate spans, which is what we've seen here as well. That is configurable as well. So if you don't want to see those, you can switch that off. So that's basically the cache issue flow. So issuing isn't actually going to any other node. But if we look at the payment flow, this is where we're sending a payment to another node. So for example, big corporation, we're seeing here that this is the other side of the flow. So we see here cash payment receiver flow, and then it's showing all the steps it's doing, like receive finality flow, and then it shows you the so this is also showing the internal flows that we implement, resolve transactions, fetch attachments flow, etc. And also bank Corda, we're in finality flow. Now it's going to the so we've got the notarize and record operation, and then you see it goes to the notary, validating notary, and then it shows you, because we've got hibernate spans being shown, it's showing you the actual operations being done by the notary. So if you look on, you can actually get more information, and you can actually see the DB statement. So basically what's happening is each node is sending spans to the collector, or you could have multiple collectors, and those collectors are then send spans to the back end, and this is what is the back end that kind of collates all the spans. So that's basically, what you're seeing here is just like a complete view of a flow and all the subflows. The other thing to note is that so basically the way this works is when Bank Corda invokes big corporation, when the session is started, we send some telemetry information with the session start message. So we don't send it with every message. It's only when sessions are started that we send some telemetry information. And then when Bank Corda say if it was to talk to another node, that telemetry information would be then sent to the other node. So I'll just describe what these started events are. So there's a slight feature in OpenTelemetry in that what it does, it will only send spans up to the collector once the span is completed, which is fine when everything's working. And if you want to use spans for timing or performance, measurements, yeah, okay, that's fine. But if, say, you've got something stuck somewhere and you want to find out where it's got stuck, then that's a bit of a problem, because it got stuck, you're going to be halfway through spans, and then because you're halfway through, you haven't completed it, and then it won't get sent up to the back end. I mean, it seems to be quite a big omission on the OpenTelemetry side. I think looking at the PRs, that it seems like it's being thought about. But anyway, so to get around that issue where if something's stuck, we don't have the spans at the back end, what I've implemented is this started events tree. So this tree basically is a list of flows and subflows, which mimics, so this is like your normal spans, where they are, that OpenTelemetry gives us. What I've also done is because the node at certain points, like at start flow, it will invoke the telemetry service. When that happens, what I do is I issue so for each operation, I issue a start span and an end span. So here, for example, cash issue and payment flow, we've got the start and end span. So these are two separate spans. So basically, I'm using a span as an event, a start and event and an end event, so that if there is a problem, you'll see the start event, but you won't see the end event, and then you could potentially see where the problem is. So this is basically like an extra tree of spans that I've manually created in the node to kind of get round the issue of spans not being sent up. I mean, if telemetry changes in the future, then this potentially may not be needed, because it would just be, it would just be shown in the normal child spans. But yeah, so now because this is like what I've done, what we've done here, there's no like, hibernate flow. So this is only just showing the flow starts and flow ends. So for example, finality flow start, it goes into notarizing record, and then you've got the notary flow client start, and then it goes into the now validating notary flow start. Yeah, these are the actual nodes that we're on. So here we're talking about like the notary node. So I just want to show how this could be used, for example. So if I, for example, kill the big corporation, okay, and then issue another operation in bank Corda. So yeah, so this is what we're expecting. Yeah, so it's waiting, counterparties, anonymous signatures. So part of the operation, we generate these anonymous signatures and communicate with the other big corporation, and we've killed big corporation. So basically this is now stuck. So the idea is, can we look at this and see if we can see anything. So the tag I've given those start end events a tag on their own. So if we, so here we go. So bank Corda started events. So this is now showing those started events that I showed before. Basically, we don't see anything else because this flow has not completed. So telemetry won't send the span up for cash issue and payment flow because we've not got to the end of it. But we are sending up these started events. So basically, if you go here, so you can see cash issue flow started, that side, and that ended. So we're good there. Cash issue payment flow, so we started, but it didn't end. So there's a problem here somewhere. So in the swap identities flow started, but didn't end. So we look down the operations, and we see the final operation here is the send and receive start. So we can get some more information, and we see it's going to big corporation. So so that's basically telling us now that, okay, there's a problem sending to big corporation, and you can then start looking at what the issue is. But you can also use this to, you could have like multiple nodes all linked together, and the idea is the end of this chain of started end events, you should be able to quickly see where we're missing the the end operation. Okay, so that's basically what I want to show for the open telemetry side. So we'll just start this and let the operation complete. The other thing I want to mention, so the design of the telemetry within Corda is kind of a pluggable design in that we have a telemetry service, and then what you can then do is, associated with that, you have telemetry components. So what I've got is a open telemetry component. So you've seen here open telemetry, but if you didn't want all this open telemetry and spans, say you wanted just simple logging of a trace ID, I've also got a simple log component, telemetry component. So it works in the same way, except it uses the simple log component. What it will do is basically when you start a flow, it will generate a trace ID, and then that trace ID gets sent along with all the subflows onto other nodes, etc. So I'll just try to demonstrate this. So if we look in the logs, I'm just trying to remember what. Hold on. Yeah, I just need to look at what oh, we go, start span for flow. Oh, I'm in the wrong, okay, sorry. Right, here we go. Okay, so yeah, so basically when in the simple log component, currently it just outputs just a log message. So it's basically start span for flow. This is the top level. So when you start a top level flow, this is the operation that gets called, and then this is the trace ID. This is the thing that is the global trace ID that gets sent to all the other nodes. So in theory, we should be able to go to the logs here and just find, yeah, cool, and find the same trace ID. So basically, and then we can do the same on the notary node. Yeah, so it's printing out. Yeah, so it's basically printing out the log statements that the simple log telemetry component outputs. So this will basically, if you've got an error in a flow and you wanted to find out, what's happening with it on the other nodes, you could use this like global trace ID and use that to look at the logs of the other nodes. Yeah, so that's the simple log telemetry or simple log component. If you want to do anything more fancy, or if you want to, because with open telemetry, it generates a span ID as well. So you've got the you've got the trace ID for the global flow with all the subflows, but per subflow or span, you've got a span ID. So if you want to do anything more fancy, you could just use the logging, the logging component from the telemetry example. So yeah, so that's basically it. So hopefully that gave you a short flavour of what we want to do in 410. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.